Hello everybody, it's a lovely Friday, no it's not a Friday, it's a Sunday. It's Sunday and it is 11:26 a.m. and it is absolutely gorgeous outside and I have a nice free day ahead of me to do what the hell I want to do, except I have to do laundry. And there's always a big battle in this building to get the laundry room because there's one on every floor. But, so, I was bombarded with questions and answers on my video where I asked you to ask me some questions, and also I got about maybe 9 or 10 or 11 or 12, 13 private messages asking me questions because they thought it might be too personal, whatever. So as I was preparing to do this video, I said, what the hell am I gonna, where do I start with my crazy life? And one of the major questions that keeps being asked me is, because you're in chronic pain and because you have a very, very, very serious illness, how do you keep your spirits so high? Well, I hope I don't lose subscribers because of this, but I'm going to tell you right now, I am not religious. I just call myself spiritual. The reason I'm not religious is because, probably a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons I'm not religious is because I went to a convent in London, England when I was a child. And for any of my viewers who live in England or who live near London, I don't know if the Holy Cross convent is still there, but the nuns that were in that convent, except for maybe one or two, they were the cruelest, most horrible women I have ever met. They were just unbelievable. I don't know why they became nuns. I don't know how they became nuns. I don't know what their... I don't know. My sister, on the other hand, she had nuns in Canada, and her nuns were amazing. And I've met many nuns in my lifetime who are absolute dolls. But when I was like around the age of 7, and I was being 7, 8, 9, I don't know, and I'm put into this convent with these horrible nuns who whipped you, slammed rulers into your hand with metal edges on them, who just, oh, they were unbelievably horrible. So I tried to hold on to my Catholicism, but as the years went on and my life progressed, I lost my faith. I lost my faith totally. And that was a horrible, horrible time for me. It was horrible. Now I do have faith. The only thing is I don't know what I have faith in. So I guess you could call me an agnostic. And that's okay, because I don't think any of us are smart enough anyway to figure out anything about. The thing that saved my life was when I finally got sober after such a long battle with alcoholism, that I was given a higher power. Well, it took me years to find my higher power, but my higher power was able to be a friendly, loving, kind, caring God. Well, I'll use the word God, who wasn't punishing. You didn't burn in the fires of hell. You weren't whipped and slapped with rulers on the hand. You weren't put down in front of people. You weren't stuck in the corner with a crazy hat on your head, because they actually did have dunce caps where you'd stand in the corner. You weren't brought up in front of 100 students and made to sit on the stage and eat your lunch because you came from Canada and you didn't know how to use utensils in the British style. And every time a nun would walk by and she'd see me eating in the Canadian way or the American way, I'd be put up on the stage and forced to eat my lunch alone in front of all of these kids. And it was very, very humiliating. So I'm not religious, and yet I have seen miracles. I totally believe in love. I totally believe in being good to people. I totally believe that there is something somewhere. I have seen too many things, as I said. I have survived too many things not to believe in something. I just don't know what it is that I believe in, and that's the honest to God's truth. So God, if you're in AA, and I haven't gone to an I haven't gone to an AA meeting in years, but God, to a lot of people who can't believe in God, stands for good, orderly direction. Well, I never really took that one, but it's, I basically live my day one day at a time. And I love the AA prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And I had to change a lot of things in my life. So I'm going to talk about my anxiety and how I went from being a very, very fearful person with no confidence into this nut that you see sitting in front of you. One of the things that happened is that I got older and I got wiser, and I stopped letting little things bother me, and I changed people that I hung around with who were toxic, who were always depressing, who were always negative, who were always they always wanted something, they always or users or whatever. There are some people in this world that are very, very toxic. It doesn't mean that you should ignore them. It just means that if you have too many of them in your life, you've got to do something, because if not, am I showing here? If not, you're going to become very depressed, very unstable, very... Anyway, so I don't know if I was born with an anxiety disorder, but I know that when I was a very small child, it happened. My sister told me that one night I either got out of bed or I ran downstairs and I couldn't breathe. So my whole family witnessed that, and I had this, and ever since that happened, I had this terror of suffocation, which led into a bunch of phobias. And I think that I was okay until I was about 11 o'clock. Till I was about 11 years old, and then things in my life started changing, and I started getting these phobias. And by the time I was 15, they were in full bloom. And when I say phobias, I mean phobias. I was afraid of... I acted normal. I was a great student. I was a good student. I had a wonderful teenagehood, except for one thing. I had to wear this ugly school uniform. I went to another Catholic school here in Montreal, and the nuns were really nice, the few that I had, but they didn't make that much of an impression on me. I was going out with the president of the high school, who I ended up marrying, and we met when we were about 15. It was love at first sight. I thought he looked like George Maharis from Route 66, and he thought I looked like, I don't know, I had long blonde hair, and I always thought my sister looked like Marilyn Monroe, but he thought I looked like Marilyn Monroe, and because I had you know, when you're 15, the body you have, well. Anyways, and we just saw each other. We met at an accident. We saw each other across the street, and he was my constant companion and my first love, and we got married. But all the time that this was going on in my life, I suffered from anxiety. My mother didn't know what to do with me. I would just come home from work or come home from school or whatever, and I would sit down and I would just start shaking, and I couldn't sleep. There was a point where my mother had to get my next door neighbor to come in sometimes and sleep with me. I couldn't sleep in the dark. I still can't sleep in the dark. I'm terrified of the dark. That's why it was so funny last night when I did that song. I had to turn all the lights off, and here I'm just looking around saying, I don't like this, but anyway. So I still, at the age of 66, living alone. I'm very comfortable living alone, but I can't sleep in the dark. I always have to have a light on. And I'm not talking about a little night light. I have to have like a kitchen light on, the bathroom light on, something where I can see light or I can't sleep. So for years and years and years and years and years and years, I had anxiety attacks. I had so many anxiety attacks that all I did was end up at the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack. So I don't know how many heart attacks that weren't heart attacks I had. I had the racing heart, the sweaty fingers, the whole... It was just horrible, 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 horrible. It was a horrible way to live. And then when I discovered alcohol, and I was almost 20 years old, that was the first time I felt normal. Oh my God, the phobias were gone. I wasn't afraid of anything. I could do anything I wanted to do. I could be happy. I could be me. And so I gradually, first of all, I had a lot of fun with alcohol, and then I gradually got into the hell of alcoholism. And it took me, I went to my first AA meeting on June 20th, 1975, and I finally stopped drinking on October 4th, 1991. So 75, that's a long time. It took me a long time to really, really, really want to be sober, because I couldn't figure out, how can I possibly be sober and face all these demons that are chasing me? Because I had a lot of demons chasing me. Just in a nutshell, I had the anxiety disorder. Starting at the age of around 10, I had sexual abuse going on for quite a few years. And my abuser, who was not my father, by the way, my abuser knew all about my fear of being in the dark, my anxiety attacks, and so he used this to threaten me. I was told that he would come into my room one night and put a pillow over my head and suffocate me. So I didn't sleep very well. So I went for many, many years, I suffered from insomnia. And looking back on those years now, I realize that if only I had known what I know now, because I always used to laugh at people who were older and say, oh, you know, they're older, but they don't know what they're talking about. Well, the longer you live, the more you do learn, to cope. The better choices you learn to make as to who you're going to befriend. Doesn't mean you turn your back on people who are not up to your... There's no such thing. We're all basically equal except for serial killers and pedophiles. And there are some very, very sick people in this world, like even here on YouTube, the trolls, the stalkers. You know, these people are very, very sick. There's not a hell of a lot you can do about them. You can block them, they'll get another channel. You can... People who are not in the right frame of mind, there's not a lot we can do about them. So basically I lived many, 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 many years in anxiety. And then when I drank, I had a hell of a time. When I drank, that's when I was able to get up on stage and start singing. The only thing is, a couple of times I'd be up on stage and I'd be singing and I'd be going through a song and I'd have a blackout halfway through the song and I'd forget what the hell I was singing. I embarrassed myself many, many times. My drinking story it's really funny, but it's really tragic. It was a living hell, but there are some really, really funny things that I will tell you about eventually. So how did I get to be such an upbeat person? By healing. By healing myself. By talking to people who are wiser than me. By reading books written by people who have been through much worse than me, and some who have been through as much as me. We're all different. We've all got our own hell. We've all got our own heavenly stories. But truth be said, life is an experience. Life is difficult. One of the best books that I have reread and read so many times is called The Road Less Traveled. And I think it's in the first sentence that it says, there might be something that comes before it, but it says life is difficult. And I have had a difficult life. I had an idyllic life when I was a child, and I'll tell you about that in another video. But, you know, shit happens. So one of the reasons I'm so upbeat is because I'm happy. I'm happy because when I have days off, I just revel in them. I don't have to go to that bloody hospital. I live alone. I don't have to, I'm not worrying about other people's emotions like somebody who's living with me, because I live alone. I find it much, much easier. Oh, by the way, I have two living sons, two sons. One is, how old is he? 44, 45. He's my baby. And I've been sober almost 24 years, which is like less than half of his age, more than half of his age. And he still hasn't forgiven me for when I was a drunk. That's the way it goes, you know? It's the way he comes across to me anyway. My younger son, he's forgiven me. But he should be the one that, I think it was harder on my younger son than it was on my older son, because my younger son, like, he was a teenager when I stopped. But that's the way life is. And there's some things, and I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried over my older son for so many years, and then I just gave it up. And one of the things I learned in AA was, if you can't handle something, give it over. So I give it over. Now, I have an inner guide, which I'm not going to go into right now, because you people who don't know anything about inner guides are just going to look at me like, what? I have an inner guide, and he helps me a lot. He helps me a lot. And so when I get confused about who to turn things over to, I turn it over to him. And so I'm going to stop this video now, because I could go on for hours, and I don't want to drive you all nuts with a huge 3-hour documentary. So I just wanted to touch on my anxiety, how you can overcome it. I have overcome it. The only time I get anxious is sometimes when they put me on the dialysis chair, and I just pray that I'm not going to have an anxiety attack, because you're strapped into this thing for 4 hours, and it's not painful. It's painful for me because of my legs, because I have very, very sore arthritic legs. But that it's not painful at all. It's just very long and you know, scary. It's kind of scary. But I just focus on anything I can so that I won't have an anxiety attack, because then all the bells and whistles are going to start going off. They're going to start thinking you're having a heart attack and blah, 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 blah. So that's my one thing that I really try to make sure of. One of the other questions, I'm just going to finish with this, why do you bother getting all dressed up and putting makeup on and fixing yourself up when you go to the hospital 3 times a week? And the reason for that is I do that for myself, because a lot of the people who are in the hospital with me, they don't look too good. Some of them come in wearing the same clothes all the time. Some of them just gave up wearing makeup. Some of them, it's just me. I've said this before. Even at my worst times in my life, when I had no makeup on, when I had given up on myself, if I would go out somewhere, I always made a point of putting makeup on and trying to look the best I could, even when I was huge, which I was for a few years. And that's a whole other story. So, anyway, so I hope that answered one question. So the basic reason for talking about my anxiety is because I know I've seen a lot of people who have told me that they have anxiety, and I would just love to take you all and say, God, please don't let this rule your life, because it's depressing but not dangerous. You're not going to die from anxiety. Don't let it beat you. Don't let it beat you. Wrap it around the throat and just shake it. and stop concentrating on the inside of your body. Concentrate on the outside where things are happening, and start thinking more positive thoughts. And gradually, and don't look for triggers to have an attack. And gradually, your anxiety will dissipate. It will, because I can go in elevators now, I can do this, I can do that, I can do all kinds of things I couldn't do. That totally screwed up my life. The only one thing I will not do is fly in an airplane. I'd rather fly in my broom. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful Sunday. And the next video I have coming up will be about makeup. Okay? So, love you all, my little loverlies. And one of our fellow YouTubers, and well, she told me that if anybody asks, I could say something, but nobody has asked me personally. But I'm just gonna ask you all, because I really do believe in the power of prayer, because that's you see, I'm a very strange person, but I do believe in the power of prayer. And one of our really beloved circle of awesome women here is going through a really rough time, really rough. And please pray for her. Please pray for her and her family, that everything is going to turn out right, because she deserves it. And she says she doesn't want to make her channel a down channel. Well, I don't think that anyone who loves her is going to think it's a down channel, and we all love her. But please pray. Just pray for somebody that needs our prayers. And you don't have to know her name. When she's ready to reveal her name, then her name will be revealed. So, and I just want you to know, sweetie, that you're in my thoughts all the time. And I guess that's it. So everybody go off, enjoy your Sunday. And I'm going to watch a few videos now. I got to watch A2 and U's Sunday Basket, Kelly's Coffee Time, and see you soon. Bye. Keep smiling. Toodaloo. Oh, I hope this came out. Did it come out? Am I forgetting something? What am I forgetting? I always forget something, and I get off here and I go, curses, I forgot something. But anyway, bye.